Oh, I've missed a good pro wrestling Twitter beef, huh? It's been a while. What, a month? 2 months since we've had a good pro wrestling beef. They get me all hard. Look, we haven't heard anything from Ric Flair in a while. He's usually the one stirring it up. Everything's quiet on the Ric Flair front these days. The Dutch Mantel beef has died down. His little thing with Booker T popped off there a little bit. We haven't had a whole lot going on in the world of professional wrestling. Well, now you have your Twitter beef that you can sink your teeth into. And, oh, it's a juicy one. Undoubtedly, you've heard about this by now. It is the Jim Cornette versus Matt Hardy going hard at it. We'll throw Brian Last in there, too. The great Brian Last. We'll give him his props. Going at it on Twitter. This all started when Matt Hardy had posted what he had thought would be just an innocuous, just a casual tweet, putting over his good buddy, best friends, the Young Bucks, really kind of praising them. But where he done fucked up, my friends, is when he went and poked the bear and had to casually mention the cult of Cornette, the Cornette fans, and calling them toxic. Well, he stepped in it there because the cult of Cornette will not stand for that. Of course, they're going to send it to Jim Cornette and Brian Last in droves. And, of course, Corny and Brian are going to cover it on their show. And that's exactly what they did. So instead of listening to me go here and sit here and read through the Twitter exchange that we have here from Matt Hardy and the Cornette camp, let's go ahead and just listen to this clip here of the great Brian Last and Jim Cornette. All credit to them. Let's go ahead and listen to this clip of them kind of breaking down what exactly these tweets were and their final thoughts on the topic. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hop on over. I'll check back in with you, and then we'll hop on over and get Matt Hardy's take as he addressed it on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy podcast this week. So let's go ahead and listen to Cornette.
Yes, Matt Hardy, best known for standing on the apron, wrote this on July 7th. Dark Order versus the Elite was a fantastic match. It's nice to see Dark Order earn such a well-deserved spotlight. Hashtag AEW Rampage. The Young Bucks and Adam Page are extraordinary talents that will unfortunately get their flowers way later than they should. So someone named Ryan quote tweeted him saying, Matt's right though. I know it's cool to hate on the Bucks and Hangman if you're a Punk Collision fan, but not for me. Give those guys their flowers. Matt Hardy quote tweeted Ryan saying, between this and the toxic Cornette cult, these guys don't get the adoration that they truly deserve. The die-hard Elite fans are phenomenal and get why they're special. But there's a huge chunk of fans that fail to give them the credit they deserve. Give these guys their flowers!
The flowers!
Is he high? What the fuck is he talking about?
I don't know. Is he burning the flowers? You can fucking verbally fellate these guys all you want if you don't knock our listeners and say the cult of Cornette is so toxic because we don't think that these guys are worth a shit. I'm sorry. It's a terrible thing that everybody in the world doesn't like your fucking friends that pay you. But there's no reason to call all of our listeners toxic because they don't like play wrestling.
Geez, Matt, I can understand selling your soul for rock and roll, but selling it for Adderall? Even if you have to abandon your principles and verbally fillet these childish cretins for your check, leave my fans alone. It's not their fault Tony's not paying them enough to lie.
And that was my comment, and I've left it there. It's don't bring our people into this fucking thing. And that's where I left it. And then apparently, Matt could not go to bed. He couldn't go to sleep. He couldn't leave it alone.
He knew what was waiting in the bedroom. So, after you were off the computer, which I knew. Matt Hardy responded, "Geez, Jim, I haven't sold my soul. I'm sticking to my principles and telling truths. I feel morally obligated to do right by my friends, although that's probably foreign to you. I earn a check because I'm great at what I do and still employable. Keep on seeding dissension amongst fans with your shtick. It's too sweet." Because I knew you weren't on the computer. And again, he's attacking the listeners, and he's saying that we're seeding dissension. So I wrote, he thinks he's great at what he does, because he said he's still great at what he does. We've all been watching. His promos suck. His in-ring work is shit. And the only thing anyone has ever been interested in him doing is tagging in his brother. Jim telling the truth is, quote, seeding dissension? How many concussions is too many? And Matt Hardy responded to me, "I'm great at what I do, Brian Least. I'm great at pro wrestling. I'm great at giving back and helping young talent. You're just some asshole with an opinion, and that opinion doesn't mean shit in reality, but most importantly, just an asshole." So I wrote, "You've been a great enabler, but you know your crap has sucked for years. And that's Mr. Asshole to you."
Yeah.
Toxic Matt Hardy here. "Another shitty joke. Must be your forte, Least. My shit's good. Your shit is shit. You toxic, bitch-ass asshole." I said, "Are you trying to convince yourself? Your work is shit. Stay home. No one will care. You seem much more toxic than I am, with a track record to back it up. I'm better at what I do than you are at whatever it is you are still trying to do." And it's signed, Mr. Asshole to you. Well, let's go back to the Hardy compound. "Don't have to convince myself. My live reactions, paycheck, and appearance fees solidify I'm good. I don't know shit about you, nor care to. So keep doing what you're good at, you goofy bitch-ass asshole."
Now, is that 2 times?
So I responded, "How dare you? You're way goofier than me. You understand that you are the one whining and crying, right? Can you still comprehend that much? Once again, you seem quite toxic," all in caps. "Is everything okay?" He wrote,
What time is this?
"Me stating that you two constantly fuel a toxic culture isn't whining. It's just hard truths. You constantly moaning and bitching about me wrestling is whining and crying. Can you discern that? Or are you a mooncalf? I'm great, by the way. Just did a huge con in Tennessee."
Great, by the way. Wait a minute. I'm great, by the way.
By the way, he said he doesn't care about my opinion. He says he doesn't listen. "You constantly moaning and bitching about me wrestling." Yeah, you listen, you fucking dope. And we know it. Dope. But anyway, "I'm great, by the way. Just did a huge con in Tennessee. Have 4 beautiful kids. Financially set for life. Still get to live my dream. Have major respect within my industry. If I say so myself. Am considered a living legend. Been a huge contributor to pro wrestling, and no rando from the internet's opinion is going to change any of this. Especially not an egotistical asshole like Brian Least. Congrats on the podcast. It'll be a great way to be remembered in history. Enough of this silly-ass cyber convo. It's time to go crawl on top of my hot-ass wife."
Oh, he actually, and this is a quote, right?
No, he literally wrote everything I just said. But I wrote back, "Are you crying again? We call the bad shit bad. We call the good shit good. You wouldn't be whining if you had produced anything in the last several years that we could have said anything good about. However, as you know, your work is shit. Have you thought about talking to someone?" And at this point, many of the listeners started sending him links to BetterHelp. So the next morning, you retweeted one of Matt's claims of how spectacular his life is because he did a convention in Tennessee. But you tweeted out, "I'd like to thank Great Brian Last for staying up into the night toying with this concussed ex-great while he was protesting too much about how successful he is. I go to sleep too early on Saturday nights to have time to play with kids. Golly, Matt, don't you have signings to do? And he responded to you.
And by the way, and I was incorrect. It was Sunday night. That was the night before. I wrote Saturday because, hey, every day's a weekend to me.
Last night was Sunday, Jimmy. Maybe you're the concussed one. You're definitely an ex-great. I used to have massive respect for you, but that's been long gone. That's the case with many people now, and it's sad. This is my final tweet to you.
Thank you.
You and Least keep doing your shock jock routines and fanning those toxic flames of hate and negativity for your zombies to slurp up.
Said now they're zombies as well as poisonous, and they're slurpers.
Make those bucks however you can, though, right? I guess that's your philosophy, isn't it, Matt? Enjoy your life, Jim. I'll certainly enjoy mine.
And hopefully, I was about to say, hopefully he will live long enough to enjoy it if they don't keep damaging his brain over there in that company he's taking up for.
They went on way too fucking long. Matt should have just gave up while he was ahead. He really never got ahead. And look, I'm not hating. I'm not taking sides. I know this sounds like maybe I'm on Team Corny or something. I'm certainly not on Team Young Bucks, but I'm not siding with Corny necessarily, but I think Matt stepped in it. He should have never had anything to do with the cult of Cornette. And that's not to say don't speak of my name. I mean, if you're gonna invoke them, you just better be ready to fucking deal with the swarm, because it's coming. It's coming. They like that shit. They enjoy the confrontation, and they are particularly mean and aggressive, and will keep going until they get the last word and you quit. So it was a fun little exchange to listen to there, especially through the the vocal stylings of Brian Last. And I just think Matt went on maybe a little bit too long. I half think that Rebby Hardy probably had his phone, because this sounds like her kind of shit. Rebby's a feisty bitch. I don't know if you know much about Matt Hardy's wife, but this woman is a fucking Latina firecracker if there ever was one. She is fiery, and she will crawl up your ass and tear you a new one so quick it's not even funny. Matt needs to be kind and gentle and happy and peaceful. That's the balance in that marriage. That's why he's like that, because she handles the rest on her end. Let me fucking tell you. I mean, I don't know her personally, but, you know, I've been around the wrestling business long enough, and you have as well. You know, we've seen and heard enough of her. Don't get her fucking started either. So it's possible she had his phone, though I think she would have got a little more spicy. And look, she's not afraid to do it in her own name either. You know, Brian Last and Cornette were tag teaming Matt, so, you know, would have been interesting to see Rebby jump in. But I think, oh boy, would that have been interesting to see Rebby jump in, to be honest with you, because I could see Brian. I mean, they were not entirely too kind to Rebby. What a mess. But Matt Hardy did address it on his podcast, and this is what he had to say about it, and kind of sounds like he's ready to move on, and rightfully so he should. Check out this clip.
Orange Cassidy, real name Jim. Sorry, I hate to spoil things, you know, breaking kayfabe for a minute. Jim is the sweetest guy ever, nicest guy ever. I love him so much. And I just know him and like the people around him, they were so taken aback by Cornette said, I just wish he would dive out of the ring. And I'm not sure if I just want his neck to snap or if I want his brains to splatter. What? I mean, like that is a point where you're being a shock jock, and that is like taking it way too far. And one of the most bothersome things out of all that is that he's a guy that was so influential to so many managers, and he was such an amazing talent, and he was just such a big deal as a manager with so many great different tag teams at different times. I mean, a lot of people look up to him, and to hear that out of his mouth, it's just like, what? You know, and obviously it's just, I feel like that's a very irresponsible thing to say, even if that's something you believe. even if that's something you truly want to see, that's something that is very irresponsible to say. And also it's just morally, it's just wrong.
So what do you say to the people that are just like, oh, it's a bit, it's all a joke, it's all for entertainment?
I mean, at this point, I don't think it is a bit. I mean, because he's not playing a character. You don't see a separation of Jim Cornette, the podcaster, and Jim Cornette, the regular person. I mean, it's him all the time, and he's just set in his ways. I mean, and I think, you know, where was the last place he was at? He was at NWA, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For a little while. What happened there?
Didn't work out.
It didn't work out. I mean, it just seems like he's had a lot of issues of things not working out. So, I mean, you know, if that happens several times over, then maybe the common denominator isn't the promotion. Maybe it is the talent. You know, so I don't know. I don't think you can call it a bit, because he said he calls shit like he sees it. That was one thing that was said in that tweet by Brian Least. Brian Least said, he said, like, we call the good stuff good, we call the bad stuff bad. Also, so I guess they're real. They're shooting, brother. They're shooting. I don't know, you know, but it's just one of those things. I think it's very irresponsible, and I think it shows a lack of, like, I think it shows a lack of discipline to make a comment like that when you've worked in this industry for 40 years. You know, even wishing someone would break their neck or splatter their brains or whatever, even if you're saying it in an embellishing way, I think it's still bullshit.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't think they're shock jocking. I don't think it's maybe to a certain extent. But look, Cornette's podcast is the biggest thing in pro wrestling podcasts. It's frankly, as they say, sometimes the bigger than the wrestling itself. So it's a big show, listened to by a lot of people, and it's listened to by a lot of negative people. Look, we all know that the Cornette fans are the particularly feisty fans, the ones that are mean, the ones that'll bury you, the ones that will, you know, talk shit and stuff like that. But and then they don't like the flippy floppy stuff, the fake, phony. It's phony. But I don't think they're putting on a shtick. Cornette is also easily one of, if not the smartest men in the professional wrestling business. Listening to him is like sitting under the learning tree. I do not always agree with everything he has to say. I do think wrestling has evolved from the 1980s, early 80s fucking smoke-filled, dimly lit sportatoriums. It's a different sport now. I've said this a bajillion times here on this podcast. I think ever since UFC, especially Attitude Era, was a catalyst, you know, it really made wrestling more entertainment-y. But certainly since UFC has come along, there's been a hard kind of fork where, you know, anything that was legitimate, plausibly legitimate, or sports-like from wrestling went to UFC, which is essentially real combat sports. It's real pro wrestling is what it is. Everybody's a different character, personality from a different country with a different skill set, and they're going to fight, and they're going to do promos back and forth and the press conference and build it up and rankings and rematches. And look, man, they're booking pro wrestling. They really are. It's a different type. It's a very sports-based type of pro wrestling. But it's essentially what it is. If pro wrestling was a real sport, it'd be UFC. So wrestling, of course, with the Attitude Era and the entertainment value behind it, and now UFC blatantly in the internet, everybody knows wrestling's a work now, and they know all the secrets and all of that. It's all out in the open. So what can we do now other than just try to be entertaining and put on a good show? Wrestling is not designed to be, meant to be, or intended for any at all at this point to try to pull the wool over your eyes and make you think it's real. And I think Jim Cornette's baseline on pretty much everything is it's phony. You know, if it's not something that would happen in an actual sports-like contest, then it's stupid. I get the psychology behind that, because even if you know wrestling's a work, you want to buy into it. You know, you don't want to, but look, I'm a guy that likes the pizza guy. I'm a huge fan of this guy on Twitter, wrestling Twitter, by the name of Jack Vaughn. I know you guys have seen this guy. If not, seek him out. He does these Twitter clips. They're so good. They're so spot on, where he just makes fun of indie-rific wrestlers and all the jokey stuff about wrestling nowadays. He kind of pokes fun at, and I like this kind of I like a little entertainment value. I like the smorgasbord, right? Like the main event, like give me a serious match I can believe in. But before the main event, after a couple other solid, intense, fierce, realistic bangers, give me Orange Cassidy throwing his hands in his pockets and kicking some shins. It's a palate cleanser. It's fine. It's fine. I'm okay with all that shit. But I get where Corny's coming from, and I still think Corny's one of the wisest men in the world of professional wrestling, and I listen to him almost religiously. Listen to damn near everything he puts out because it's entertaining. It's good shit, and he knows his shit. And Matt Hardy should know better than to step into it with him. But is he putting on a shtick? I don't think so. Playing it up a little bit, perhaps. But Corny's always been kind of bitchy and negative and stuff, and I don't think they could fake it for that long. They're not playing a character. They might take that negative tone, that negative angle approach, but hell, they put shit over when they see good stuff that they like, and they don't just shit on everything. I think, I don't know, it's absolutely a show that you got to keep in your rotation, right? So, look, I like Matt Hardy too, and I like his show. And he's a smart guy too, and they used to like each other. And I get what Matt's saying too, just because fucking Matt's friends with the Young Bucks. Suddenly, like, you can't like me because during the pandemic when we had to think outside the box, I changed magically in a fucking ice box. Okay, it's silly and stupid. The Lake of Reincarnation, sure, it's fake, phony bullshit, but I don't know. It's entertaining to me. I don't care. It's a stupid reason to just hate somebody and never want to wish death upon them, but that's what makes Corny entertaining anyway. What are your thoughts? What do you think about this whole beef? Or whose side are you on? Do you see both sides of it? I just think it is a cult in a lot of ways. If you mention them in a negative tone, you're fucked. They will come at you, and they will come at you with vengeance. And that's essentially that. But I do think Corny, his take can be a little dated sometimes, or at least his perspective, although brilliant and wise beyond his years and way smarter than I'll ever be about this business, tends to come from the smoky sportatoriums of the early 1980s with his philosophizing on the business. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. On to the next. There you go. Thing on my thing. Oh yeah, thanks for checking out the video. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like it if you liked it. Yeah. You can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on the channel. Ooh yeah. Dig it!